You know, pretty much every major city across the upper Midwest, no matter what you want to fish for, it's available.
Absolutely. There's so many different species. When you're talking metro areas, you're talking panfish species. I can think of living on the outskirts of a major metro area, outside of it, actually driving into it to take advantage of some of the great walleye fishing on Pool 2, some of the great catfishing in the Mississippi River, and as you know, and bass are pretty near and dear to your heart. There's some excellent bass fishing in the metro areas.
Yeah, the river, I think of like Detroit River for big smallmouth bass, Minneapolis area for big largemouth bass, and carp, of course. Right now, let's take a closer look at some top metro spots. Milwaukee, Wisconsin is a prime location to catch king salmon, lake trout, and world-class brown trout year-round. It's all about timing. Throughout the summer months, when offshore wind brings in cold water and large schools of alewife, there can be some fantastic small boat fishing opportunities in and around the Milwaukee Harbor. This is an amazing fishery that local guide and brown trout guru Eric Haataja has promoted for years. Our next urban fishing hotspot is Detroit, Michigan. Situated on the shores of Lake St. Clair and the Detroit River to the south and St. Clair River to the north, the fishing options here are pretty diverse. If you like bass, Lake St. Clair is simply a smallmouth bass factory. There are miles and miles of water to fish with more weed beds and rock piles than you could fish in a lifetime. Mainstream tactics include dragging tubes, drop shotting, crankbaits, football head jigs, and jerkbaits. Lake St. Clair is also a world-class muskie fishery where the local guides consider a good day of fishing in the double digits.
Great muskie right here on Lake St. Clair. That is a phenomenal fish.
As far as presentations go, everything will work. Casting, vertical jigging bondies and soft plastics, high-speed trolling crankbaits, inline bucktails. A lot of the good guides troll multiple lines with boards for suspended muskie. If you're a muskie man, you want to experience Lake St. Clair's muskie magic. While there is good walleye in the rivers year-round, the best bite occurs in spring when large numbers of walleye move into the river to spawn. Fishing vertical with heavy jigs and plastic is a primary technique according to Sportfish Michigan's Ben Wolf. The last urban destination of the day is the Twin Cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul, Minnesota. We'll start off with a little river fishing. Pool 2 of the Mississippi River, which is right through downtown St. Paul, has been total catch and release fishery for bass and walleye for 25 years. It also has a good population of white bass, panfish, and big catfish. There is no closed season on Pool 2. The Twin Cities also boast more than 22 city lakes, which vary in size, and many have stellar largemouth bass, panfish, and muskie fishing opportunities. There's actually a lot of metro fishing guides in the Twin Cities. You know, looking at that, it is amazing the size of the fish that you can get fishing in metro areas. Everything from bass, walleye, muskie, trout, salmon.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, some of the biggest species that I can think of and biggest catches I've ever had personally from walleye and catfish have been in the metro, actually leaving the outskirt, more remote areas where you think you'd want to be fishing to get into the metro to get at these trophy-sized fish. But one thing we can't forget is if you don't have a boat, there's no problem there because shore fishing opportunities in the metro area abound. And not just for little bluegills, there's some quality shore fishing opportunities for great big trophies of all species.
Yes, there are. Yes, there are for sure.